In January 1983, Boeing introduced the B-757, an aircraft that would earn the reputation for excellence in the aviation industry. Augmented by its powerful engines and remarkable range, the B-757 was capable of achieving performance levels that surpassed those of contemporary narrow-body jets. It quickly became Airlines' preferred choice for transatlantic routes and excelled at operations in challenging airport environments. Charter operators particularly appreciated its versatility. By the end of its production run, Boeing had successfully delivered over 1,000 units, securing its status as one of the most successful aircraft in the company's history. However, there's a puzzling aspect to consider here. In 2003, Boeing announced a surprising decision. They would terminate the entire B-757 program. This choice wasn't driven by failure or age. In fact, the extended version of the B-757 airliner had only been in operation for 4 years. Instead, Boeing was convinced that they were on the verge of introducing something superior and revolutionary that would render the B-757 airliner outdated. At least, that was their belief. Unfortunately, this anticipated replacement never materialized. During the last 2 decades, Boeing has been witnessing Airbus gradually capturing this most lucrative segment in aviation with an aircraft that fulfills the same needs the B-757 once did. This narrative chronicles the decline of the B-757 aircraft and the strategic error that continues to haunt Boeing until this day. Before delving deep into the reasons behind Boeing's decision to discontinue the B-757, it's essential to understand the motivations behind its creation. The B-757's journey commenced in the late 1970s, as Boeing faced a pivotal choice regarding the future of one of their most successful jetliners, the B-727. Since its introduction in the mid-1960s, the B-727 had excelled in short to medium-haul routes, gaining recognition for its outstanding performance at demanding airports, thanks to its robust triple-engine configuration. After just 10 years in service, Boeing found itself buzzing with feedback from customers. Airlines were eager for more capacity, craving something larger than what the B-727 had to offer. In response, Boeing unveiled an intriguing new variant, the B-727-300. It was essentially a stretched version of the beloved B-727, complete with some upgraded avionics and design tweaks. However, the reaction was somewhat lukewarm. Boeing had underestimated the monumental shifts reshaping commercial aviation. 2 key developments were on the horizon that would quickly render the stretched B-727 outdated even before it hit the drawing board. First, a new wave of high-bypass turbofan engines was making its debut, offering impressive fuel efficiency that traditional low-bypass engines simply couldn't compete with. Secondly, the 1973 Yom Kippur War and the ensuing oil crisis drastically reshaped airline economics, compelling carriers to prioritize fuel efficiency as an absolute necessity, not just a luxury or a secondary thought. Adding to these challenges, Airbus had already introduced the A300 a few years before, showcasing how a wide-body aircraft with just 2 engines could be incredibly economical. This 2-engine design came with significant perks: lower purchase prices, reduced maintenance costs, and simpler operations. All these factors led Boeing to quickly pivot away from the B-727-300 concept, gearing up for something much bolder and economical. Here enters the 7N7 program, a thrilling precursor to what would eventually become the B-757. This cutting-edge twin-engine aircraft borrowed heavily from the successful B-767 design, addressing every limitation that plagued the stretched B-727 proposal. To make this leap, Boeing needed to completely rethink its design philosophy. The original B-727, much like the B-737, sat low to the ground, which made ground handling easier, especially at airports lacking advanced equipment. But as the late 1970s rolled around, even smaller airports had upgraded their equipment to handle taller aircraft. This opened the door for Boeing to equip the 7N7 with longer landing gear, creating ample space beneath the wings. This newfound ground clearance was nothing short of revolutionary. With this greater spare room, Boeing could introduce the new generation of large, diameter, high-bypass turbofan engines, something that would have been impossible with a low-slung airframe. The combination of these engines, an advanced supercritical wing design, and comprehensive aerodynamic enhancements led to a remarkable 30% boost in fuel efficiency compared to the B-727. This was a jaw-dropping advancement, especially considering the B-727 was still fresh on the scene. The B-757 officially entered service with Eastern Airlines in January 1983, but initial sales fell short of Boeing's expectations. However, the dawn of the travel boom in the 1990s would change everything, propelling the B-757 into the spotlight and solidifying its place in aviation landscape. The B-757's incredible range opened up a world of opportunity for airlines, allowing them to fly direct routes between secondary cities and completely avoid those busy hubs. It's no wonder that charter operators loved the B-757. It was nearly the perfect aircraft for holiday routes. With its capacity to carry a good number of passengers, it made these routes profitable while still delivering superb performance and the range needed to operate from the airports that couldn't handle larger wide-body planes. In response to this growing demand, Boeing introduced the B-757-300, a notably stretched version that hit the skies in 1999. Familiarly dubbed as the Flying Pencil, this variant could accommodate as many as 280 passengers, putting it in direct competition with smaller wide bodies on high-density routes, while reaping the economic benefits of a narrow-body aircraft. However, just 4 years after the launch of this exciting new model, Boeing dropped a shocking announcement that left everyone stunned. They were shutting down the entire B-757 program. By the time production of B-757 wrapped up in 2004, Boeing had sold nearly 1,000 units of these remarkable planes, making it one of the best-selling aircraft in Boeing's illustrious history. So what could have prompted Boeing to retire such a versatile success? The immediate cause of this decision was both traumatic and unmistakable. Following the events of September 11th, the U.S. airlines industry plunged into what would later be known as the lost decade. This was a long stretch of financial turmoil during which airlines had to shut down, merge, or operate under bankruptcy protection while trying to restructure their debts. While Boeing and Airbus both faced challenges during this tough time, the effects weren't the same for all aircraft types. The B-757 became particularly vulnerable as its production rate had been relatively modest compared to the popular B-737 and A320 families. In its twilight years, Boeing was producing barely 17 aircraft per month. With such a low production numbers, the B-757 program had little buffer when sales took a downturn, and the fixed costs of maintaining production line became more than manageable. Boeing found itself in a fix. Should they maintain the production line in the hopes that demand would bounce back eventually, or should they shut it down to cut overhead costs? Aircraft manufacturers often end up in facing such harsh realities of aviation industry. With the Boeing facing intense financial challenges and the crisis showing no signs of recovery, relying on faith alone to keep the B-757 alive would have been an incredibly costly gamble. Looking back, we now know that demand for aircraft like the B-757 eventually bounced back as the aviation industry recovered. You might think that if Boeing had managed to keep the production line and supply chain intact, new orders would have likely flowed in, particularly from European charter airlines that still adored this aircraft. However, there was a twist. The mid-2000s saw the emergence of low-cost carriers, revolutionizing the aviation landscape. These new airlines didn't just shake up the charter operators that had once served as the B-757's main European market, they completely transformed it. While some low-cost carriers did place orders for the Airbus A321, which was on par with the B-757-200 in capacity, they found it challenging to build extensive networks around such a larger aircraft. Instead, these savvy carriers primarily favored smaller jets like the B-737 and A320 families, which could profitably serve a broader range of routes due to their lower purchase and maintenance costs. And then came the turning point, when Continental Airlines chose to drop its remaining B-757 orders in favor of the B-737 in October 2003, Boeing realized it was time to wrap up production of B-757 for good. Now, another logical question arises here. If the B-757 aircraft in its present form wasn't enticing orders, why didn't Boeing simply boost its appeal with more efficient, high-bypass engines? The B-737 has undergone multiple re-engineering phases throughout its impressive lifespan, and even Airbus successfully revamped the A320 family with fresh engines to create the Neo variants. So, why not bring that same magic to the B-757? This question uncovers another key factor behind the B-757's challenges. The engine requirements for this aircraft were uniquely tricky, and the timing for addressing them couldn't have been more challenging. The B-757 featured a relatively long single-aisle fuselage, paired with the exceptionally powerful Rolls-Royce RB211 engines, making it a standout in commercial aviation. Originally developed for larger aircraft like the Lockheed TriStar and early Boeing 747 variants, the RB211 engines had to be specifically scaled down for the B-757, resulting in a bespoke variant tailored just for it. However, this custom design made re-engineering an uphill task. If Boeing wished to fit the B-757 with newer, more efficient engines, they'd need to persuade an engine manufacturer to either develop an entirely new design specifically for this model or adapt and miniaturize an existing engine initially meant for larger aircraft. But there was another hurdle. Around the early 2000s, when Boeing needed to make crucial decisions regarding the B-757's future, General Electric was heavily invested in developing the Generation X engines for the groundbreaking B-787 program. Exciting developments were happening in the aviation world. While a compact fan variant of the Generation X was in the works for the B-747-8, the challenge arose with the B-757 needing an even smaller version. The creation of yet another Generation X derivative would have called for a significant investment in design, testing, and certification. Engine manufacturers typically require a sizable sales volume to justify the pursuit of such ambitious projects. To make economic sense, development costs need to be spread across sufficient number of produced units. Considering the already challenging market position of the B-757 and the uncertain road ahead, persuading GE to back a dedicated engine variant would have been an uphill battle for Boeing. Plus, both Boeing and GE were keen to keep their focus on the B-787 program, a project that held the promise of their future. Now, the B-757 certainly shined with its powerful engines, which allowed for hot and high performance. But imagine if Boeing had opted for less powerful yet more fuel-efficient engines, like the CFM56, or even the latest LEAP engines. Could they have crafted a more economical version to take on the Airbus A321 family? After all, the A321 could accommodate nearly the same number of passengers as the B-757. The answer to this question unveils the third factor contributing to the B-757's eventual decline. Even though both aircraft had a similar seating capacity, the B-757 was notably bulkier and heavier. The comparison to the A321 is eye-opening, revealing just how different these aircraft really are. Both aircraft had comparable maximum payload capacities of around 26 metric tons, but their empty operating weights varied significantly. The B-757-200 tipped the scales at approximately 58.5 metric tons, while the A321 weighed roughly 48.5 metric tons. This meant that the Boeing's was almost 10 metric tons heavier, over 22,000 pounds. Despite carrying nearly the same payload, this weight difference dramatically shifted the economics. This substantial gap primarily originated from the B-757's design, which not only aimed for outstanding hot and high performance but also catered to a longer range. This demand led to larger fuel tanks, bigger wings to efficiently lift all that weight, and stronger structural components throughout the airframe to handle the increased loads. It's amazing how these design choices shaped the aircraft's destiny. While the large wing design offered some fantastic advantages, it also gave Boeing the incredible opportunity to stretch their imagination into the B-757-300. However, this brilliant innovation came with a little bit of baggage. The aircraft had to carry a structure initially designed for long-haul transatlantic flights, which created some unnecessary dead weight for shorter to medium routes, resulting in extra fuel consumption. To tackle this challenge head-on, Boeing got creative during the design phase, thinking about a shorter variant, the B-757-100, while still maintaining the same passenger exit limit as the B-727-200. Excitingly, they were attempting to adapt and innovate. But here's the catch. Aircraft families typically share wings, meaning that if the B-757-100 retained the larger B-757's wing, it might fall short in competition against the A321 on similar routes, regardless of whether it sported a CFM56 engine or even the new LEAP 1A. Now let's delve into Boeing's crucial decision to maintain B-737 production while phasing out the B-757. At first glance, this decision seems absolutely justified. The B-737NG family was racking up impressive orders in the early 2000s, while the B-757's sales had taken a nosedive. Any sensible manufacturer would logically continue the production of the aircraft that was still winning hearts and orders. According to then Boeing's CEO, James McNerney, they were already eyeing the development of an all-new B-737. This meant that there were actually plans to not keep the B-737 around forever. If we take a closer look at the timeline, Boeing announced the end of B-757 production in 2003, with the last aircraft rolling off the line in 2004. But just a few months before that announcement, the spotlight was on the launch of the B-787 Dreamliner program, with ambitions to have it in service as early as 2008. Had the B-787 debuted as planned in 2008, it could have opened the floodgates for a next-generation aircraft program, potentially replacing both the B-737 and B-757, utilizing all the exciting innovations from the B-787. Unfortunately, things didn't unfold as anticipated. The B-787's debut was delayed by over 3 years, and the digital design tools didn't advance quite as quickly as hoped. The groundbreaking manufacturing methods hit some roadblocks, causing delays cascading down the line, even impacting plans for the next single-aisle aircraft. Despite these challenges, Boeing refused to back down. After deciding to give the B-737 one last exciting makeover to create the MAX family, they continued pushing boundaries with what they called the new mid-market airplane, or NMA. This announcement marked the dawn of an exciting new aircraft, perfectly positioned to bridge the gap between the iconic B-737 and the impressive B-787. It filled a critical segment that the beloved B-757 had long championed, bringing to life Boeing's long-cherished vision for a fresh replacement. However, everything changed after the unfortunate series of B-737 MAX incidents. Suddenly, Boeing's focus shifted completely toward managing the fallout, leaving less room for innovative product development. As a result, the much-anticipated new midsize airplane slipped quietly into the background, leaving a void in Boeing's strategy for evolving past the B-757. Fast forward more than 20 years since the last B-757 rolled off Boeing's production line, and the echoes of that pivotal decision are still felt strongly. The truth is, the B-757 was never retired due to poor performance. Rather, it was quite the opposite. It became a casualty of unfortunate timing, soaring engine costs that made upgrades a daunting challenge, and design features that struggled to keep pace with lighter, more nimble competitors. Boeing had hoped to unveil a revolutionary design that could seamlessly replace both the B-737 and B-757 just before the market truly called for it. But that gamble didn't pay off. In that moment, they unwittingly closed the door on what many still herald as the finest narrow-body airliner ever created, leaving an undeniable gap in their lineup that continues to await a brilliant solution. The excitement for the future of aviation is palpable, and the potential for innovation remains limitless. The videos on aviation demand careful research, verifications, and putting in hard work to be created. So, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the factors that shall ultimately lead to the extinction of B-757, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Aviator Vibes, and drop a comment below. And as always, keep watching Aviator Vibes for exciting aviation updates and deep dives.